Our next guests are actually joining us remotely. We have Brandon Biederman, who is here with Port Consulting Group. They're based in Philadelphia, and Brandon's here to share an update of the project that they are working on right now that's nearing its conclusion, focused on a master plan for the stretch of the Jordan River from about Highway 201 in the Salt Lake, West Valley, South Salt Lake boundary down to 5400 South. So Brandon, welcome. I know you've got some other members of your team that may be with you, and we'll let you do some additional introductions. Angelo Calcino is managing the project from Salt Lake County Parks and Rec, is also with us online, and they can probably respond to any questions you might have. So Brandon, we'll turn the time over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Let me know if everybody can see this once it pops up. Are we good?
Yeah, looks good. Thanks.
Perfect. First, thank you all for letting us take up some of your time today to share where we're at with this project. So this is a Salt Lake County project, and as mentioned, Angelo is kind of managing it from the county side. We are a Port. We're a landscape architecture and urban design firm based in Philadelphia and Chicago. We also have a team, quite a extensive team with us. We've got Rio ASE. They're our hydrological consultants, and then Pros, which Will Younger is on the call today from Pros Consulting, which works on operations management, governance, and maintenance kind of ideas nationwide. So they'll be here to help answer any questions related to that as well. And then we have a series of other advisory roles just to be able to ensure that we're able to round out and ask, fill in any kind of questions or kind of expertise that we need across this plan. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. This is a little bit longer of a presentation, but in my conversations with Soren, I'm going to try to keep this to like 10 minutes. So I'll be skipping through a series of slides, but I think we'll be able to give you a good introduction. And the plan is to come back then in February and be able to share kind of more details with you all. So we're kind of using this as an overview of the plan so you have an idea and understanding of what and where this is going. We'll hit on the project schedule, goals and priorities, some of the public outreach that was done and stakeholder engagement, and then a brief overview of the conceptual framework plan and the next steps. This project is really in two parts. So we had a part one visioning. This occurred in the latter half of 2024. This is predominantly public engagement, which I'll get into a bit more here in a second. And then the part two is what we're currently in, and this is plan development. So we're basically conceptualizing and kind of putting together the report of the plan through this late 2025 and early 26. This is that second stage that we saw there, kind of a more detailed schedule. You can see where we're at right now here in early December. We've gone through and done some concept frameworks, met with a lot of the stakeholders, and then now we're working on actually putting together the details of the plan itself. We have had a lot of recent engagement with the planning commissions of the 5 municipalities that align to this section of the river. We basically, the only one that changed is the South Salt Lake Planning Commission is actually tonight, and so that got moved. So we'll be sharing this kind of similar presentation with them this evening. As Soren had mentioned, this is looking at the section of the Jordan River corridor between State Road 201 and 5400 South. And this came out of the state legislation amendment in 2022 of HB 173. That really extends about 250 yards on either side through this section of the river, although we're looking at kind of more specifically the publicly maintained and administered land within that corridor. This diagram gives you understanding of the different municipalities that border this section of the river. And so we've been really engaged with all 5 of these to ensure that we're aligning to them. As I mentioned, though, in 2024, we did a lot of public engagement. We did a lot of on-the-ground events. We talked with a lot of folks and really did a lot of interactive kind of boards, et cetera, that brought together a fairly synthesized report that we issued at the end of 2024 and allowed us to bring a lot of these comments, both geolocated and kind of in general, and really set the foundation of this kind of a set of themes that we've been working with. So connected, active, and healthy river corridor really came through, and also stewarded and thinking about the care and management of this section of the river. This just breaks out a few of the kind of topics that, or the kind of buckets that came out of our conversations with the community that we've been really using as an underlying basis for the work going forward. As we entered back into the project this year, we sat down with all the jurisdictions. We really went in and did an interactive workshop with all 5 jurisdictions, brought a big map and really sketched out to hear what current plans, what future plans, what kind of dream plans, each of your planning departments and Parks and Rec departments had ongoing or in the future. So we were able to understand and think about this, not just from a jurisdictional boundary standpoint, but much more comprehensively across this section of the river, across this recreation area zone. And that, again, kind of really influenced and set a baseline for how we moved forward with these kind of priorities. And so we expanded on what we heard from the community through this engagement with the stakeholders. And that really set up this kind of idea of active transportation. So really looking forward to access both along and to the river corridor itself, looking at riverian and ecological function. How can we improve river quality and water health and the ecology surrounding that corridor? Both passive and recreation, active recreation opportunities throughout the corridor. And then management and safety was a big one that we heard specifically from a lot of the departments within these 5 jurisdictions, and thinking about safety and visibility, but also awareness of this area, this amenity for all the communities that are adjacent to it and the surrounding area. We've taken that and we've kind of brought all these different kind of ideas and current plans and future plans together, sat down with the county, sat down with some staff from the JRC, and really started to bring this together into what has formalized as the kind of conceptual framework or overview plan. We also looked at a lot of ongoing and existing planning documents, looking at the station area plans, general plans, 7 canyons, 7 greenways plan, et cetera, and tried to ensure that we were bringing a lot of this together to make sure we're informing that. And this set a series of system-wide goals, the first one being connected communities. So thinking about how we can expand through this section, getting a trail on both sides wherever possible. And then what the type of trail for each of those sides provides as far as an amenity for folks using that. Looking at improved public access points, so ensuring both people are able to access this river corridor, as well as emergency and police individuals for improved safety and improved overall emergency access. And then looking at awareness so that folks know about it. In our community engagement, a lot of folks didn't even have an awareness that this corridor had the amenities for them to be able to utilize. So again, just documenting where right now there are gaps of the trail on both sides and how we could start to look at filling in the gaps of these public access points from the different communities. Healthy river corridor, so really looking at an expanded floodway or floodplain, looking at preserved habitat areas and improved water quality through what we're able to do in this section. And this is where our work with Rio ASE, our hydrological consultant, has really been informative. We really are looking at these kind of 4 areas that I've highlighted here that have an expanded public controlled land that's state land, that's county land, and jurisdiction land, where we're able to start to think about how we can really enhance and expand the floodplain and watershed through these areas. Active river, so how are folks using the river more actively, both kayaking or boating, fishing, or even just getting down to the water. So we're identifying the existing, boat launches, existing kind of water get downs, and starting to find gaps where we can expand on that, provide more opportunities for folks to be able to touch and access the water. And then looking at the existing riverside amenities through this area and how we can build on what's there today, expand the kind of overall amenities and increase both active and passive recreation opportunities. So again, just documenting everything that's there and seeing where we can start to make improvements to help build this out to really be a kind of a destination for folks within the Salt Lake County area. And then a big one, of course, as I mentioned, is operations and management, and thinking about how a coordinated management oversight of this area can help to improve maintenance, can help to improve potential phasable funding approaches, and really looking at cohesive programming opportunities. So identifying the, again, publicly administered land throughout this whole area, and thinking about an infrastructure of collaborative management that could exist through this this kind of recreation area zone of the Jordan River. And so those are the system-wide goals that have really driven a lot of this project. We've also started to really zoom in to then think about how that lands on the ground. And for us, it was helpful to start to think about this within segments more driven by theme or character of the site than by a jurisdictional boundary or others, since this is really thinking about it as a comprehensive plan throughout this section. So that brought together these 7 different segments that we do have kind of detailed out to kind of an overview. I'm going to go through this really quickly just to be mindful of time, but there will be a website that has this all hosted, and happy to share this document so you're able to look at this in more detail. This starts at the south. We're rotating the plans, so page right is north. We're starting at 5400 south here, really looking at some ecological opportunities to build on Millrace Park and Germania Park that both exist in Taylorsville and in Murray area, thinking about the amenities that exist there, how we can get a trail, 2-trail system through here. And really also, this is a fairly straightened section of the river. How can we start to increase or bring back some of the historic natural meandering aspects of the river and expand that floodplain, increase more riparian ecology? And you're seeing an example of a similar situation that our hydrological consultant Rio did in Greeley, Colorado here. Section 2 is looking at the Little Cottonwood confluence. So there's 3 assets here, all kind of separated right now. So thinking about how we can start to think of those as a more unified area. And again, looking at some side channel expansion of the floodplain, ecological enhancement. And you're seeing, again, some of Rio's initial studies of that. Moving further north, this area is more of an ecological spine. So this is surrounding the 4500 south. The Freedom Shrine exists in here, looking about some additional access to that and getting the 2-trail system that moves through this area and working with some potential redevelopment opportunities along the area, along the corridor through here. Moving up, this is what we're calling Four Corners Commons. It's where all 4 of the 5 jurisdictions come together and along Meadowbrook Expressway, and thinking about how we can start to really create a neighborhood destination out of the existing amenities here of General Home Park and Mill Creek Trailhead. And this is also a larger area of county-controlled land, so how we can start to create different loops and systems of pathways through here to expand on the kind of core of active programming while allowing for this expanded passive recreation through a more kind of naturalized area. And again, seeing some of the kind of side channels that Rio was able to identify through their LiDAR mapping and on-site observations. The Tracy Aviary is something that we've been and had a conversation with Tim, but just thinking about being able to start to get a 2-trail system through there, find some safety improvements, specifically with a new trail link to 3300 South that South Lake has been working with the aviary on, and also thinking about how we can coordinate with the South Lake Police Substation that's in the future as some additional public access points there. And then the segment 6, second to the last one, is really the most expanded area of county control property or county owned land. There is a designated wetland conservation area here that you're seeing in the photos on the right. And so thinking about how this could actually become a county destination park along the Jordan River here, bringing in passive and active recreation to really build out and utilize this area. Again, working with Rio, trying to identify some ways in which we can start to recharge these wetlands. The closing of the Brighton Canal has not provided or has taken away the source of kind of water that was feeding these ecological areas of these wetlands. So starting to bring that through both from the Jordan River and from the Chesterfield Canal. The last section is a little bit more limited, just as where we start to enter into the U.S. Army Corps federal jurisdiction of the Levee Channel. So here we're just looking at some improvements for buffering, looking at getting a trail on both sides again, and then also how we can build off Redwood Park to start to think about that as maybe a more water-based recreation hub. That really has led to this whole series of projects we've identified sort of uniformly across the corridor that we think could help to build on the assets that exist there today, in conjunction with those system-wide goals that I identified at the beginning. And really all of this we're trying to tie back to what we heard from the community and what we've heard from all of our stakeholders, and keeping these as our North Star as we move through this process. So as I mentioned, obviously we're here talking with you. As you're talking with you now, we've got the South Lake Planning Commission meeting this evening, but really trying to get this plan out as an introduction, so that folks are able to provide feedback now as we're starting to get into the details of laying out the full report. And we really look forward to coming back and being able to, have a better and bigger conversation with you in more details of this plan. But really look forward to any feedback you have now in this kind of quick overview that I gave here. My last note will be we are also working on an online website that we're wrapping up by the end of this week, and we'll hopefully be able to share that with you early next week, to be able to share with any constituents, share with any folks that are interested in learning more about the plan, and there'll be opportunities to be able to provide feedback within that web platform as well. So thank you again. Appreciate your time, and open to any questions that Angelo, Will, or I are able to help answer.
Thank you, Brandon. Are there any questions here in the room for our presenters? Yeah, Michael.
Hi. Do you have any plans for the type of water recreation you might recommend, or are you just saying this area we recommend water recreation? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there are specific the kind of the series of projects that we identified here are looking at various opportunities for additional, working with the county on additional water access points, i.e., kind of boat takeouts, boat launches, as well as finding areas in which we're able to provide more, kind of opportunities for fishing or being able to touch the water itself. So those are identified in the kind of project list. This is it's a master plan for this area, though, so that will remain conceptual and be a series of recommendations that, as kind of the long-term plan would unfold, would be, worked through in greater detail.
All right, thank you.
And Brandon, I should just note, that was Michael Horrocks who was just speaking, and he represents the Wasatch Rowing Foundation, which probably for a couple of decades or more has had a long-standing goal to develop rowing and sculling and crewing opportunities in that heavily levied part of the Jordan River, because of availability and a long straight shot. There are some impediments to that, but it's a long-standing goal and one of our Blueprint Jordan River goals as well. So I think that's something we could probably reflect in this plan, as well as looking at specific kinds of water-based recreation and where those opportunities exist.
Can you guys hear me, Sharon?
Yeah, Sharon, go ahead.
Hi, Sharon.
Okay. Clarissa Williams is texting me. She's like, tell them I can't. She's trying to say something, but she's gotten frozen out. So I just will ask, what's the best way to provide feedback as a commission member? Because there's a whole big document. I know there's a whole big document behind this too. And is it directly to you or via Angela, or what's your suggestion?
I think I want to speak, Brandon.
Yes. The planning commission for South Salt Lake is this evening, and that would be a good opportunity for y'all specifically. Brandon, feel free to, or Angelo, add anything else.
Yeah, Angelo here, Salt Lake County. I mean, everyone is more than welcome to submit questions or information directly to myself with the county, or of course, once the website goes active, we're hoping that people will be able to access it and the word will get out about it because it's been announced to all of the groups that we've presented to so far. And it will be on our website. It'll be on our consultant's website. I believe we'll have a link on the Jordan River Commission's website. So
Awesome.
we're hoping
Thanks.
that the word will get out and people will review the document. As you say, it has some substance to it at this point in time, and then they'll be able to provide comments that way. But feel free to call or email me or just shout across the city boundary line if you'd like. So we'll get it. Thank you.
Wonderful. And then I'll ask my personal question. I've been very excited about this project, as you both know, and excited about the opportunity for things to be elevated along the Jordan River. So this is a future-looking question, but when you're done with this plan, Angelo, how do you foresee the funding being implemented? And that's a little bit loaded because I know there's been ideas floated, but do you have an actual specific avenue you're feeling like you're going to take to fund these projects at this point?
All I can say from a county's project manager's perspective that if any of this becomes reality, we would be glad to take the lead and work with the local jurisdictions and the other applicable agencies to see these projects come to fruition. And I think we'll pursue every funding opportunity as possible, that's available to us. I see this as a team effort. Again, the county, I look at this as that we are basically doing a planning effort for the specific 5 jurisdictions, as well as, again, other agencies like County Flood Control, Jordan River Commission, even DNR with the state, since they control the waterway. And hopefully at the end of the day, the final document will have some solid guidelines, like hopefully all master plans do. And then all of these agencies can work hand in hand and find the funding sources to make any of this a reality. So hopefully it won't be another plan that just sits on the shelf and collects dust. So
I will give credit to the county and the Jordan River Commission that many things in our plans, Blueprint Jordan River included, get done. It just takes time. And that this one, so I'll just state for this section of the river and specifically South Lake, it's a really big area to tackle with a lot of need. And I just personally hope that this is maybe like for the next 10 years. And I think in terms of ZAP and stuff, that this becomes a really big focus area. I know the county has had other focuses over years between large regional park, large rec centers, and I hope this is the era of the Jordan River coming up, because we are to the point where this is the last open space we have, and it deserves more. Thanks.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
Thanks, Sharon. And I just would build a little bit on Angelo, is that one of the things that will be included in this plan is, in a sense, an implementation matrix that will help start to identify, associated with both the projects and these system-wide goals, kind of general budget ranges, like just kind of bucket levels of costs that we would anticipate for each of them, who we would think would be the best to oversee that from an agency standpoint, and what agencies would need to be coordinated with, as well as potential funding sources that might, that we're going to work with our consultant pros on, thinking about where and how those can be creative funding solutions that are not just, coming out of the county dollars or coming out of state dollars, but really looking at kind of sources across the spectrum.
And I really appreciate that Angelo and you guys have been taking leadership on this. I hope the leadership, at least like the leadership, needs to stay, because that's what it takes to get it done. And I personally am trying really hard to get the city, myself mostly, to really spend time thinking about the Jordan River in the next few years. We've got reasons to, we've got some projects coming up, but on our end, we need to take some leadership too, and really get involved in projects and not just wait.
Thank you for that. And Brandon, thank you for providing that information. It's very critical that an element of the plan that it will have. So thank you.
Good job.
I think in the interest of time, we'll move forward. Thank you very much, Brandon, and thank you, Will, for joining us. Thanks to the county, Parks and Rec, and Angelo for your great leadership on this. And I know each of the municipalities that are involved in this project have been very engaged as well. And we thank all of the support for this moving forward. I think Sharon brings up a really good discussion topic, and it's probably not one for today, but I think it's a discussion topic we might schedule relative to not only the funding to do initial kind of capital improvements, but also long-term maintenance. Both of those are identified as real challenges in work around the Jordan River. And this is actually going to be a focus of some of our next technical advisory committee meeting 2 weeks from today. And so for those that are interested maybe in weighing in and participating in that discussion, we invite you to our TAC meeting in a couple of weeks for some follow-up discussion.